Alright, so in this screencast, I'm going to offer some advice on how to approach your research for the bibliography assignment for Dr. Stephen Carriger's class. For this assignment, you need a lot of sources from the Roane State Library. At least 20 have to be from the library. And I know that might sound like a lot, but I promise you it is possible to find that many sources for whatever movie that you end up choosing. And if you follow the strategies I'm going to outline in the screencast, it'll hopefully make things a little bit easier for you to get all those sources that you need. So to start off, you go to the library homepage, library.roanestate.edu. A lot of times when students get to the homepage here, they'll want to go to this gray search box called OneSearch, and they'll want to just enter search terms right there and dive in and start searching. But before we do that, I want to take a moment to explain what OneSearch is. So bear with me for just a moment through a little bit of boring librarian talk. OneSearch is a search tool. It doesn't actually, it's not a publisher or a content provider, it's just a search tool. Where the library content actually comes from is these things called databases. So if you scroll down further on the page, there is a link there called Research Databases. And if you click on that, you'll see a list of all of the different databases that the library subscribes to. Database is just another word for electronic collection. So it's a bunch of stuff in electronic format. Ebooks, streaming video, newspapers, journals, magazines, all kinds of stuff, all electronic. So you can go to this list of our research databases and scroll through that. You could click on any of these to open any of these databases and search within them individually, one at a time, to find ebooks and articles and other materials. But what OneSearch allows you to do, if we go back to the homepage, OneSearch allows you to search multiple databases at one time. So it can be more convenient, but then on the other hand, it also has some problems. You can get a really huge number of results using OneSearch, and it can have some other technical issues as well. So I recommend that you use OneSearch to find some of your sources, but I strongly recommend that you follow the steps that I'm about to go over when you're using the OneSearch tool. So I'm going to pretend that I'm using the New World for this assignment. I'm going to pretend I'm doing a bibliography over the movie The New World. To find sources, you don't want to just use the title of the movie as your search term. You may not end up using the title of the movie as a search term at all, because what you really want to think about is what the movie is really about, what time period it takes place, where it takes place, who the characters are, major events that happen in the movie, things like that. So to brainstorm search terms, I actually recommend using Wikipedia. You know that you're not going to use Wikipedia as a source, but it can be a good way to come up with search terms and figure out what your movie is really about. So if there's a Wikipedia entry for your movie, you can skim over it and like I said, look for those search terms. The New World, for example, here's the entry for that movie. And even just skimming over the very first paragraph here, it says it depicts the founding of the Jamestown, Virginia settlement, and it's inspired by the historical figures Captain John Smith, Pocahontas of the Powhatan tribe, John Rolfe. So those would all be great search terms. If you scroll down further and look over the plot, you could probably come up with other search terms. And those are the kind of things you're going to want to enter into OneSearch. So back on the library homepage. I'm ready to search for something, and I do recommend that you keep your search terms pretty broad. You don't want to enter in a full question. Like you would not want to say, is the New World movie historically accurate? You don't want to enter a really long, complicated question like that. Again, you may not even use the title at all in your search. Instead, use a broad search term relating to the movie or a character within the movie. For example, I'm going to try Pocahontas. Doing this search for Pocahontas brings back a lot of results, over 13,000, because remember, one search is searching in lots of different library databases at one time, so we get a lot of results. To narrow that down, the next thing I'm going to do is go over here and limit the result type to just books. I recommend that's how you use OneSearch for this assignment, is using it to try to find some books for your bibliography. You can probably find at least 10 books that you could use as sources. I'm not going to suggest that you use only books. You'll want to find articles as well for some variety, and we'll look at how to do that next. But if you can find maybe 5 to 10 books through OneSearch, that'll be a big chunk of the assignment taken care of. So if I limit to books, then that narrows down the results. We've got only 126 now. So that's still way more than you need, but it's a little easier to manage. If you scroll through these results, you'll see they're all books. Most of them are ebooks with online access. So you can just read them on your computer or other device. Just because we're searching the library's stuff doesn't mean that everything you find will necessarily be relevant. For example, here's a result from the Pocahontas search for an ebook called The Idea of Nature in Disney Animation. Yeah, I'm sure that book talks about the Disney movie Pocahontas, so that's why it came up as a result. But it obviously really doesn't relate to what we're talking about in terms of researching the New World in that historical time period. We don't really want to know about the Disney movie Pocahontas. So this book would not be a good source. It's not relevant. But as you skim through, you can load more results, and you'll see other books that, just judging from the title, they definitely do sound relevant. So The True Story of Pocahontas, The Other Side of History, that one would probably be good. We could click on the title to learn more about it. And then if you actually wanted to open this ebook, this particular ebook is available in 2 different databases. So there's 2 links here. You could click on either one of those to get to the full text of this book. And if you decided you wanted to use it, then you could just copy and paste the citation. Going back to the results list, you could scroll through, look at other books. We do have some books that are available in print. So they'll say, instead of online access, they'll say available at Rhone State Oak Ridge Library or available at the Harriman Library. This semester, fall 2020, we're not actually checking out print books. But you may be able to use a couple of these as a source for the bibliography. And then, like I said, most of our books are ebooks, so that won't be a problem. You can just read them online. But again, here's another book, and you can get the MLA citation right here in OneSearch. Yeah, just to reiterate, not everything that you find through the library will necessarily be relevant. Here's another book, this one called The Wild Rose of Cherokee, or Nancy Ward, The Pocahontas of the West. That's about a different person entirely, who just had a nickname of Pocahontas, so that would not be relevant. But then this one, Pocahontas's People, the Powhatan Indians of Virginia through 4 centuries, that one probably would be relevant. So you've still got to think critically about the results and, don't use the ones that are irrelevant. Make sure that any of these books are really on topic before you use them as a source. You could use different search terms. You could narrow this search. If we add Jamestown to the search, that's probably going to filter out a lot of the irrelevant stuff. Now, initially, it is bringing back all different types of results, including articles. So again, you got to go over here to the right and limit to just books. And now we've only got 21 results, but these are all likely to be relevant. You still want to be careful, but since we're searching for both Pocahontas and Jamestown, these are probably all going to be good sources. So again, to recap, you can find books using OneSearch. Keep your search terms pretty broad and then limit the results to just books. And you can probably find half of your sources that way. Now again, as you probably noticed, OneSearch can return other types of results, including articles. But if you don't limit to books and you're looking at articles as well, then it really can just be overwhelming with way too many results, thousands, if not tens of thousands of results. So there can be too many things. There can be technical issues in OneSearch, like broken links. That tends to happen more so with articles. So I recommend trying to find 5 to 10 books through OneSearch. And then to find articles, you want to go back to the library homepage and search in some different databases. So again, back on that homepage, library.ronestate.edu, you can scroll down and click the link to our research databases. There are a lot of databases listed at first. There's about 60 of them, 65, something like that. So I'd recommend that you narrow the list down to just the databases that are really best for history research. So you use that drop-down menu at the top of the page and select history. And for this example, I'm going to show you the database called Biography and Context. If your movie depicts any real-life historical figures, like Pocahontas in the New World, Biography and Context is a good database to search in. The first time that you open a database, it's going to ask you to log in. Once you've done that, if you switch to a different database, it shouldn't ask you to log in every single time, but since this is the first database I've opened just now, it asked me to sign in with my Rome State email address and password. All right, so I'm in the Biography and Context database, and I'm just going to do a search. Again, I keep it pretty simple, especially when you're just starting out. I just search for the name Pocahontas, and here's a result right off the bat. So we could click to read more about her, see what this looks like. Okay, it's like an encyclopedia entry, a few thousand words long. So it's not as in-depth as a whole book, biography about her would be, but it could still provide you some useful information potentially. So you could skim through that. Again, make sure it's relevant. And then if you wanted to use it as a source, the citation tool in this database is up here near the top. So you could click that, copy and paste the MLA citation. And then if we go back to the search results list, there were other items. Again, keep in mind that not everything that has the word Pocahontas in it will be relevant. You've still got to look at each thing and determine if it really makes sense to use it, if it's really about the Pocahontas depicted in the movie The New World. Some of these, would not be. Some of these would be just a book review. Instead of an actual book, databases have a lot of reviews of books, so those probably wouldn't be that helpful. This article about volunteers at Pocahontas State Park, not helpful. But if you skim through, you might find something that does work. There we go. Saving Jamestown. Adventurer John Smith lived many lives before Pocahontas saved one of them. So that's a magazine article. You could click it and see if it looks like it's on target, if it's in-depth enough for you to use. This actually looks like it would probably be pretty good. So again, you can copy and paste the citation for this item. So that's 2 more sources that I could use if I were doing a bibliography on the New World. And that's only from this one database called Biography and Context. And that was only searching Pocahontas. We could also search for, Captain John Smith, John Rolfe, some other names from the movie. Now, a name like John Smith that is pretty common. You want to make sure that you get the right John Smith. We don't want the Red Hot Chili Peppers or this British ship captain. You would want to look and make sure that you find content from this database about John Smith, the English colonist. And there we go. If we wanted to, we could read more about him, and this would be yet another source for the bibliography. If we go back to the list of databases, the history-specific databases, there are other ones that we could try. JSTOR, it's a good database. It's very scholarly. It contains peer-reviewed journals. So those are high-level, very advanced, authoritative sources. I'll try searching in JSTOR for Jamestown. I'm going to do Jamestown, Virginia, to make it a little more specific, and we'll see what we get here. I get some images at the top. And then as you scroll down, there are a lot of journal articles. So again, very scholarly. These journal articles, can be a little, they can take more time to read. They might be pretty long and use very academic language, but they're really good sources. So if you can find at least a couple of these journal articles to use in your bibliography, that would really strengthen it. For example, this one about cannibalism in abundance in colonial Jamestown. That sounds kind of interesting. So you can click on the title to read that full article. Sometimes it'll just give you the abstract, a summary to start with, and then you'll have to download the PDF to actually see the article in JSTOR. Other times the article will just appear right here. But yeah, all we have to do is click download, accept that, and then it should open the PDF. If you decided to use this, again, this looks like it's relevant, so this could go into a bibliography. So you would just click Cite this item over here on the left. Every database does have a citation tool. They're just in different places in different databases. So instead of being up at the top, the citation tool in JSTOR is over here on the left. It says Cite this item, and you can click and then just copy and paste that citation. Okay. And then there are several other databases listed that are good for history research. You could open and search within any of these. Between those articles that I just found from JSTOR and Biography and Context, those two databases, I found several articles there, and then we saw a bunch of book results in one search. So right there, I've got probably at least 10 sources that I could copy and paste into a bibliography, and those are all related to the movie The New World. I could keep going, opening up other databases, searching in them, finding more stuff. Like I said, it's definitely possible to find enough library sources for your bibliography, but just be aware that it may take some time. Doing research like this and using the library search tools, it takes some getting used to. It's not the same as using Google. It does take a little trial and error to figure it all out and get comfortable using these databases and using OneSearch. So give yourself some time. You might have to try a wide variety of search terms. You might have to try a lot of different combinations of terms, like when I did Pocahontas and Jamestown. You'll probably have to use OneSearch to find books, and then search in several different databases in order to find enough articles. And you will probably have to sift through a lot of results that are not relevant and that won't work in order to get to the stuff that is relevant. So give yourself plenty of time, and remember that you can reach out to me if you need help. My contact info is in Momentum, or you can go to the library website and go to our contact page. You can call, text, email. You can email just that main library staff address. You can also use the online chat feature when that's available. Any of the librarians will be happy to help you. We're all familiar with this assignment, so if you need help getting to those 20 library sources, please reach out and we will help get you there.